frequencies are covered 7 years ago, when I began to expose myself to spirituality, to which a spiritual friend began to tune me into psychology, because then, more than 10 years ago, I became ill with depression due to mental bipolarity. My life improved with my psychological examinations, because then I began to meditate intensively 7 years ago and undergo sound meditation therapy. My spiritual leader was instrumental in supporting me in friendship and socializing and discovering personality. Because there was too much saturated information in the brain at the time, the film began to overflow, causing the melanin of the brain cells to blame. But despite the intense exercises of frequency meditation, I exposed my contact with reality, to which I fell, and I was attuned to nature. It is very important that man does not lose touch with nature and the bioresonant notion of nature. Extremes and great lives began to unfold with which I discovered my quantum personality. I have had a lot of musical performances and my life has improved as fellowship with my spiritual master has exposed a realistic picture of my life. In 2012, I decided that despite my musical goals, where I was playing as one-man band and duet at the time, I just expanded my horizons and formed a rock and roll band, which we rehearsed at the Godfather 3 times a week. It was great, I started enjoying it very much, but as the wolf changes hair, we had good story points as well as bad ones. We did 2 concerts where we played rock and roll at a nightclub. A friend rented a van that brought the equipment to a nightclub. When we started the gig, people weren't many in the club, but we still played the gig. The thoughts started to intertwine as we played Elvis. December 2012 was a leap of the galaxy as I found out that the Earth's field had vanished. On December 25, 2012, an article was published on National Geographic about the galaxy's intense operation. At that time they were talking about the Zero Belt, which was supposed to exacerbate disasters. They spoke about the end of the planet Earth's world, that the Earth pole would then turn to the electromagnetic pole and that the Earth as a planet would also stop. These were the NASA predictions, and just then on Christmas 2012 in Hrastnik we performed a Christmas New Year concert with Godba, where we performed a variety of classical music and I performed with them as a keyboardist in the wind orchestra and as a singer and guitarist in the accompaniment of the orchestra in the wreath of songs of Elvis. I knew I was taking the decisive game as all the information was full, so I meditated and purified my energy field of consciousness on a regular basis. The orchestra played live and a friend we had previously played with in the rock and roll band of Elvis was the sound recording assistant, who set up recording microphones and sounded the orchestra to record a Christmas New Year concert. The concert was, of course, well recorded, which I also heard, but because he used a colleague laptop to record, his music editing program did not work and his discs were blocked on his computer, so the recording from the concert was not preserved. With the end of summer around 2012, we were evicted from the God Birth House and we came to a village outside Hrastnik, where we practiced at an inn in the upper rooms. We started to isolate ourselves with the decks and once everything was done we started rehearsing. We rehearsed about 50 songs from the Elvis repertoire. Things started to get complicated over the years when guitarists were leaving us, as we came to a crossroads about what music to play, rehearse, and perform. But despite the agreement, we also included other songs by other American musicians in our repertoire. Later, we had rehearsals once a week at an inn outside Hrastnik. I started enjoying the Blue and Noni energy drinks to get enough energy to function, and I continued to meditate to discover the sides and see my life what they were saying about me. It started to get complicated because we replaced quite a few guitarists, but none of them was quite right, while we were also changing the guitarists, and my then drummer friend got a recording card that he used to record the band. We started recording intensively, and the drummer did a musical production, which, for those conditions, was a production worth saying. We had demo recordings because of problems or we were going to get concerts, but because we didn't get the right guitar player, we ended up rehearsing. A bass guitarist of mine at the time went to other bands where they played other music than we did back then. They were very instinctive moments, so I didn't even know for myself who I was, just like rock and roll. But it only took me a while to make that instinctive rational leap, so we escaped the devil, who called us out of hell. Years of socializing with my friends from Hrastnik passed, where we discussed various topics, and of course I was still actively working on